Hi friends! Welcome to my channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Katelyn and I like to film eyeshadow palette ranking and review videos, as well as the occasional other content sprinkled in. So if you like indie makeup, if you like eyeshadow palettes, if you like me, I highly recommend that you hit that subscribe button because I post 2 videos every single week. And for those of you that are not new here, my face is happy that you are seeing it again. And I'm filming this at the very end of my day, so my makeup's a little bit of a mess, my hair is all over the place, and my nail polish is chipping. So I apologize for that, but I wasn't sure when I was going to be able to film this video, so I wanted to film it as soon as I had some time to film it. You know what I mean? But anyways, as you can see by the title, we're going to be talking about 15 eyeshadow palettes that give me winter vibes. And I will warn you, there are some palettes that are limited edition. You can't get them anymore, but I just want to encourage everybody to go through their own collection, pull out what palettes you think give you vibes for this winter season, and use that. You don't have to feel influenced to purchase any of these. Let's go ahead and get on into it. Okay, so this is not a ranking. This is just 15 eyeshadow palettes that I felt like I could see myself using in the winter. Use whatever eyeshadow palettes you want to in the winter. Honestly, I use a ton of palettes that don't give me winter vibes throughout the winter. I'll use a summer palette, like a palette that screams more summer or spring. In the winter, doesn't matter. I'm a big fan of matching my makeup to my clothes, so that's really what inspires me. But if you're somebody that is inspired by the seasons, this video is for you. This video is also for those of you that just like to talk about eyeshadow palettes, because I feel like if you're subscribed here or here in general, you probably like eyeshadow palettes. So here we go. First up, I said this was alphabetical order, right? By brand. Anyways, first up, we have the Blend Bunny Cosmetics All Done Up palette. And I don't know why. I think it's this, like, these 2 rows here. But when I look at this one, I get like a wintry vibe. It's definitely on the neutral side, but you have this like really like forest or like Everest. What is it? What is that word that I'm looking for? Evergreen. That's the word I'm looking for. There's like foresty, evergreen kind of green here. And I think that gives me winter thoughts. You also have this like really nice like cool toned row with this metallic silver. You can obviously keep it more neutral or go a little bit warmer. So I don't think it's like just a winter palette. And I'm putting air quotes around that. Like I said, wear whatever you want to. But anyways, I definitely think this palette could easily go year round, but it gives me winter vibes when I look at it. Maybe a little bit of fall, but more winter, I think, because of that green row. Next up, we have the Ensley Rain and Brittany Huffman collab, the Midwinter Dream palette. It's got winter in the title, so I've got to be on the right track with that, right? But there's just something about these like really colorful mattes that I just think are perfect for the winter. These shimmers have like this like icy blue reflect to a lot of them, but are different colors because they're duochromes or multichromes, and I just think it's giving all the winter vibes. It's super pretty, one of my favorites. You can't get it anymore, so I'll keep it moving. Next up, we have the Give Me Glow Bad Witch Club Season Fall palette. Now, it's called Season Fall, but oh no, these shades are breaking a little bit. Oh no. This purple is a little broken. Okay, we'll have to be careful. But anyways, I think this palette, just like the tones of the purples and the greens, I don't know, it gives me more winter vibes than it does fall vibes. So I think it's a really pretty one for winter. And I've also like was reflecting on when I've used this palette, and I've used it on Christmas Eve and just like other random days like since I've had it. So I tend to reach for it in the winter is what I'm trying to say. So anyways, obviously it gives me winter vibes for whatever reason, even though it's technically a fall palette. Next up, also probably should fall into the fall category, but I get winter vibes from it. But this is the Glamlight and Friday the 13th Camp Crystal Lake palette. I just feel like you have these like murky blues with this icy silver, and then the other like murky purples and greens. They don't scream fall to me. You could do a red and green look for Christmas, you know, that falls into the winter, right? So I just feel like overall definitely gives me more winter vibes than anything else. Next up is an easy one. Like this one I feel like is like, you know, a lot. But anyways, this is the Doodles by the Bunny and Gourmand Girl Silent Night palette. Obviously, it's a holiday themed palette, but I also feel like perfect for the winter. I think it's a different take on it because you have these really bright golds with these bright blues as well. But I think overall, definitely gives me winter vibes for sure. Next, we have the Huda Beauty Rose Quartz palette. I just feel like these more muted purple matte with these icy blue duochrome shades just, you know, makes me feel like it's perfect for a nice cold crisp day, especially if you want more of a neutral palette with some, you know, the ability to do some pops with the duochromes. This one I think is perfect for this time of year. Then we have the Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde. This one also is a little bit more on the colorful end, but I do feel like these colors and tones of these colors could work in the winter. Like I said, I mean, anything can work whenever. I don't want to make anybody feel like it can't work that at any time of the year, but I just feel like the like icy blue up here and then the purpley tones and then the different shimmers. I don't know. I just feel like I could totally see this being a wintry palette, but also like gearing up for spring, right? Because you got some like that pastel peach over here, and this does lean a little bit more on the like bright side. So it's almost like when you're in winter but you're ready for spring. I feel like that's where this one sits. Next up, we have the Natasha Denona Xenon palette. This is a grayscale palette, but I just feel like those icy grays are perfect for the winter time. You even have a shade called Snowbow. So I think that's how you say it. I'm assuming. I could be reading that wrong, but I just feel like, you know, nothing looks more snowy than like a nice silvery shimmer. Next, we have the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude. I included both of these just because even though this one is a neutral palette, it's more on the muted, like mauve-y, pinky side, and I do feel like that lends itself really well to the winter, especially with these taupes, and they're like more of like a silvery taupe. I don't know, overall I felt like this was a really good neutral palette for the winter compared to the other neutral palettes that I have. Then we have the Nomad Cosmetics Ghost Town USA palette. I always want to try and show this off. Yeah, there we go. This palette has definitely more cool tone neutral mattes, but then it has these more muted or subdued like blues and greens that I think all just scream winter to me. Of course, you have this really bright silver, which, as you can see, since silver is a theme for me, silver and winter are obviously like joined in my brain. Next up, we have the Oden's Eye Christmas Eve palette. I know it's called the Christmas Eve palette, but I think you can use this at any point in the year, but especially in the winter time, you have these really pretty icy blues, similar to the Silent Night palette. There's a pop of gold in there, but you also have more of like a muted green option, or you can go a little bit more on the purpley side with it, and I think that works really well for a color palette that is more on the winter side. Next up, we have another Oden's Eye palette. This is the Giant Wolves palette that they did in collection with Annette from Annette's Makeup Corner. This palette is long since like discontinued. Can't get this one anymore, but super pretty. Absolutely love it. I love the color story in here. It definitely screams winter to me with like the blues and the purples and the grungy greens. I just think it's such a fun one. And then also with like the wolf on the front, I don't know. I think just like the whole theming of it, really, I get winter from it. Next up is another easy one. This is the Simply Posh Cosmetics Cozy Cabin palette. So another holiday, like geared towards holiday, but I think you could definitely use it really year round, but also just anytime in the season. I feel like this neutral row just makes me want like a warm cup of hot chocolate. Like that's just the color that it reminds me of. I think it's because the shade is actually called hot chocolate, so I'm not as creative as I thought I was. But anyways, then you have the tones of these like blues, like almost like blurples over here. So pretty. And then if you wanted some warmer shades in your winter time, you got that over here. You got it all. So I think this is a really good one. Continuing with Simply Posh, I have the Berry Icy palette. This one for sure gives me the winter vibes. It's a half blue, half like pinky purpley color story, but these blues alone just scream wintertime to me. And then last but certainly not least, I did feel like I had to pick a Viseart palette, and I wanted to go for one that wasn't just like a straight up neutral palette, because they have a ton of neutral palettes that I think would work well in the winter, but then I was like, but it also work well any other time of the year. Like not in the theme of like what I've said for a lot of these, like you can use them whenever, but I just feel like Viseart palettes that are neutral are just meant for any occasion. Anyways, this is the one that stood out to me, and it's the Petite Pro Midsummer palette. I have not used it yet. I just picked this up to like feel like I was completing my collection, but I feel like this pinky blue duochrome down here is what seals it for me. And I also feel like the tones of these neutrals, they are more on the cool tone side. I just think they all lend themselves really well to the vibes of this kind, you know, of this time of year where it's a little bit more dreary and, you know, colder out and all that. So those are my 15 picks. Let me know what palettes you tend to reach for in the winter, even if they're not like a winter palette, or just let me know what you want to be using over the coming weeks before it is spring. But yeah, that's it for me. I hope you all enjoyed this one, and I will see you next time. Bye!